the first to know in Nsem-Pii TV.
The Electoral Commission, led by Madam Jane Mensah, organized a rerun of Ablekuma North elections for 19 polling stations. As at now, based on verified report, Electoral Commission release, Madam Nana Akua Afriyie, parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party, leading vote with 48 votes. But 19 polling stations were approximately 6,000 voter NDC ni NPP for preho. Na eventually Electoral Commission out of the rerun ever declared a new winner for Ablekuma North elections. One issue APM, especially one omuni Ablekuma North an issue say NDC winning Ablekuma North elections they will have access to over 2/3 majority in Parliament. Nasa powers no the ombetim dia assassin entrenched positions within the Constitution of Ghana. One of the entrenched conditions entrenched positions in the Constitution a hand for a term limit of the president and komodia air coso around. But the motive behind the National Democratic Congress ensure so we win Ablekuma North election clear because of access to 2/3 majority in Parliament. Now, you record the first legal case a PMO or Ablekuma North High Court around January 5th, 2025, and the ruling presided over by the learned Justice Force in Japan, a granted mandamus application Nana Akua Afriyie, parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party at the bar court for Ablekuma North. Honorable Court heard arguments for and against the applications by the learned Gary Nimakon Mafo for the applicants and Godwin Tamakro Edigi for the interested parties. That's the National Democratic Congress and party itself and respected Justin Amenuvo responded for the Electoral Commission. The High Court judge, after spelling out the law as regarded to mandamus with a well-laid outline of the applicable laws and supervisory powers of the court, Justice Forcing moved on to apply the evidence on the mandamus commissions. The vote of 62 police stations was not collated. Now, Justice Force held that the inability of the Electoral Commission not to collate all polling stations as 2 polling stations remains outstanding, and therefore there still remains a duty to be done by the Electoral Commission. Justice Force went on to hold that there was a demand on the EC, which demand has been refused as collating, including the outstanding 2 years to be done. Justice Force held that all other conditions were met for the grant of the mandamus for coalition and declaration of Ablekuma North Constituency. Consequently, Justice Forson ordered the EC to collate 62 outstanding polling stations and declare Ablekuma North parliamentary elections. The High Court Justice also consequently ordered the police to provide armed security for the coalition of exercise. Consequently, all 62 outstanding polling stations results shall be added to the already 219 polling station results. It is as at then na 62 polling stations that na pending Justice Forcing a rule is Electoral Commission and could be a normal for declaration and bra. It came as a surprise say Electoral Commission say a rerun of 19 police stations after this judgment by Justice Forcing. And no they endure ruling by the High Court about Nana Akua Afriyie, the parliamentary candidate of the New Patriotic Party, as answered the case they call court say. Who the first ruling way up? A ban saying na easy for a book court name tia na as answer a rerun of the 19 polling stations because the order the High Court edema easy ni say kokoleti na declare not go and organize a rerun. No, omodesa case no ekodom High Court and a High Court for a certain number of days for judicial review. But Electoral Commission for asserted a net 11 July 2025 for the rerun of the election. In Johnson also called court, say omode what interim injunction to Electoral Commission so sending ya ebesi omokwan no omontimi organize that supposed rerun election and then on a High Court for any ruling about. the Accra High Court dismissed an application of the interim injunction to restrain the Electoral Commission from going ahead to the rerun of the elections in 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency on July 11, 2025. What say? Omunkoye coalition, omunkoye rerun. Obi the interim injunction at all. What's also dismiss it that injunction. Now, you are caught into the reason a court in MI. The court, presided over by Justice Ali Baba Abaturi, in a short ruling held that the application was unmeritorious as the balance of convenience tilts in favor of the Electoral Commission, which has a constitutional mandate to conduct elections for the people of Ablekuma North constituency. The court further held that the EC, which is a finger of the executive arm of government, would be in a position to adequately compensate Nana Akua Afriyie, the new Patriotic Party candidate, in damages should she win the substantive case. In the another decision, High Court, led by Justice Aliba Abaturi, at the man Nana Akua Afriyie, I want dismiss it that interim injunction against the Electoral Commission. Lawyer Paul Adomotri, and then a camera, Echo PMU, Ewa Ablekuma North, and a constituency Nikodin Kobo, based on an election at Echo so in July 11, 2025, to have a few of one or more to about Ablekuma North. So much yes, on the implication of a vote, no, the NDC a two-third majority in Parliament, and a DNT and almost share at the actual about a parliamentary candidate for Ablekuma North, who eventually be a member of Parliament. Nyankon, Nyankotie.
Man thing.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay, right.
Then if you go down to Kanesh, you are going toward Okankwe Central there.
All right, let's see the video. Let's see the video now. Producer, show us the video with the sound. With the sound.
Aduma ochna yebekwa koto aba yesra rade se o ma basabasa biamba yantu no asundwem ni obe wini ba me wish say Erabna Obri embra na me wojide says Erabna ba bibia be change esan say 28 good years no ye hu hwi Ablekuma North ye hu mpuntu obi a ye hwe ye niame bia wo say ye nya Ablekuma North ye ni bi
we need Erabna because so far FE didn't do anything for us. So right now we are waiting for Erabna to come. Then we know we have to Erabna come and work as Ablekuma North electoral area.
No, man, tell me how no. Every me against for any full year campaign, and the NPP full year campaign. When you do pay, oh, if you are no crofuni, then it's phone we him. And so if you want me, watch your man, and it is phone or wedding kind, Yakuwa young na, and so ya kasa say ye na ebi eduward man. What do Mrs. Obeto me free? Mr. Me John me NPP ni ebi abepe Erabna Nasem. And so well me we ku father Nasem. And so man tell me how no maybe nim ka politics here.
Oh, there have been Nsem-Pii there until say about 20 nyina no ebekwa wie answer. Because me to me can just say we na be wini and I we na be wini.
Want to abandon farmer Erabna. Since you come so want to farmer and there 50 but test time. When you dama wa street ya nyem bodo kwa mu da but test wa be da mo kwan. Hu no ma wo ko be ni na yen onye hwe nsi motu wofo. Mwankasa mo wo odoko twi ma me ha ma. Mu say development bia nkodo. Na fi mo bokwa akoto ama. Mmokwa akoto ama wo fre na mpo Afriyie na wo koto ma Afriyie na okanyo hokasha ibi se ni bi bobaka choda anyema ba na otena do.
Oh, if you why be tell previously why I dey mahada. It is Afriyie win kwa. Say you had me NPP for strong go it is so win kwa so yepe.
To tell you the truth, no me per se Erabna win because NDC winning wahada. And NPP nkwa na winning waha. And so far no who show kwan no cry yenye.
Some people are even saying 21 years NPP winning and nothing has been done. Are you sure?
I still don't really have a take, but the one who was more friendlier was the one who approached me personally. So, Erabna.
So some people think that, well, for the sake of
protecting Ghana from the NDC having a 2/3 majority, whether or not they will use it, we should just give the seat to the NPP. What do you think?
I think they having a majority power is not bad in a way, but at the same time, autocracy is not good. It's better for them to be checked from the opposition than they having too much power by having majority votes. So
for the past 8 years, no, me share that who improve. Senior Hanum Odoko area mu Hanum teno. Sa bibi kaka me hu say why market no a road no enokro 2 months before election eno yes ade no enokra anche ena sign election no kra ya nto aba no kra na kwan sign status say den say
Edade. Omo ewia ya che. Omo ewia ya che. Afibia mutu omutie aha stronghold. Omo ewia ya che afidie. Yeje ana yeje Rabna o the number 2.
The Ghana han say in Africa politics ni say o power. We bibia to do the winning aba. Special by election is abanketing getting there. A fact. We dan ya this opposition in any thing. I will never be one. Yes, sir. We call electoral commission also the position. Into a day, government the power, but we are mama. A rabna, no government, I mean, who know other constituency on the me Martinas so many years. Me knew no.
Yamaka say, near we are ye first now. This time, yeah, then, a 3 year first, ye jina so ye di ye pese ye den onko no ma we nso mba mba ye the same thing obini rabra obi mo no nso mba mba ye the same thing yes sir senior ye pese we nko no no mbra no so no ba no nso be ye the same thing na sa na ye be den ye be mo no nso aye den akọ no obi fufuro be stand no ono nso aba.
So we've gone around the constituency collecting opinions of people. Some people seem to be of the view that Irabna Orbin should be given the nod because the NDC seems more promising. Some people think Ifri hasn't really done anything in the constituency. But as at now also, as we've considered the peace situation, people seem to be of the view that the elections will be peaceful. One major matter that has been brought up, especially by people like Dennis Abuaji on the internet, is that the NDC, if they win this seat, would have a 2/3 majority in Parliament, which will allow them to do a number of things. For example, amend entrenched positions in the Constitution, like Articles 1, 2, 4, Chapter 5 on human rights, Chapter 8 on the executive, and so on. So they seem to think that whatever the performance of the NPP or the NDC in this constituency, for the sake of not letting a government have a 2/3 majority, as we saw in, for example, in the 1992 to 1996, for the sake of not having a government have a 2/3 majority, the NPP should have the seat. Some people seem to have the view that it's not really important. Once you can trust a government with that kind of power, and they'll prove that they will not exploit it, they should be given the nod. So see, these are some of the bigger ramifications of the election. So as of now, we are in anticipation of a peaceful election. We're in anticipation of who would win tomorrow.
What are the demographics of people who live in Ablekuma?
It's interesting. As we'll find in a lot of places in Ghana, it's always mixed. Because you'll be in a place where you see somebody with a provision shop. Then you walk just a few paces on, you see a very nice fancy pharmacy. Then you move on and you see somebody with a boutique, someone a bit working class. Then you move on just a bit, then there's a very fancy boutique beside it. So it's very, very mixed. You have people who are like lower middle class to a bit more working class. Then you find one very, very well-to-do person. So it's very, very diverse.
What's the anthropological distribution? Tribal? Is it Gans? Is it Akan? Is it? I saw you conduct some of the interviews in Akan.
We came across mostly Akan speakers. There are some people who opted to conduct the interview in Ga or Akan. So it seems that there are some Ga speakers within the areas. But for the most part, we came across more Akan speakers. Or that may just be the case that people feel more comfortable speaking Akan. So it's very possible that they're a bit more Ga.
Somebody sends me a text, and thank you very much. It's a regular viewer who sends me a text. It says, the Ablekuma place is from Hansonic Junction, Kokompe, Dakuman, Sakaman, Dansuman, Asori Danho, Odoko, South Odoko Estates. Oh yeah, I know South Odoko Estates. Kokompe is interesting. They have a lot of these Aboso kind people there. And they used to have a football team called Iron Breakers because they do a lot of iron in Kokompe. Okay, so the election is tomorrow?
The election is tomorrow.
in those, is it 19 or 16 constituencies?
I would think
19 constituencies.
19 polling stations.
Polling stations, sorry, 19 polling stations. Okay. So by what, midday we know?
I should think so.
Or voting begins at 8 and ends at 5?
Voting should begin. I think the standard EC procedure. But I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
So as a young law student, I wanted to engage some of the people on some of the more legal elements of this. For example, with the whole 2/3 majority conversation. But one thing I noticed was people were either, the minute you talk about that, they say, oh, I can't talk about it. Or they want to talk, but they say, oh, let's not talk about that. I think that maybe more work towards educating the people on some of the more legal dimensions of these things should be done. Because you find that you want to talk to people about some of these legal issues.
I don't think it's something that's sitting with electorates that much in terms of 2/3.
Yeah,
what is the ramifications of a party having 2/3 majority? They really
they care about bread.
They don't care about that much, you know.
Yeah, but it impacts them.
And they are voting for their MP, so it's a local conversation. Do you like this or do you like that for this constituency? Not so much about what she may be doing in Parliament in terms of legislation and making laws, but what she's going to do for us. Does she understand our problem? Does she understand that like somebody said in the video, I've never seen her. She doesn't even live here. But somebody may not live there, but will be a great legislator for you. But they want the personal touch to answer my personal questions. Whether Parliament is 4 feet, 500 and 2 billion, he doesn't care. Is Irabna going to answer my questions or is Afriyie going to answer my questions? Then I gravitate towards that. That's something that we have to talk about as the elections approach. The broader picture of what we are doing in this constituency and how that reflects is very, very important. Because often we vote in the constituency, it turns out that the vote is usually carried across the country, that many people get surprised. When they were voting for NPP in this constituency, they didn't know that NPP was winning in so many places. If they had known, all of those things happen. But it's local politics, really, really local. And perhaps those who want to contest for parliament, you want to run for parliament sometime?
Oh, maybe in the future.
Yes, in the future, you have to know that it's very local. It's very, very, very local, and it's important. But I'm happy that you when did we call you? 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You're able to very quickly get it together with the cameraman. Both of you have done an excellent job. Let me see if Kobe is getting some text messages before we go to the big LGBT conversation, and then we go to the Azuma conversation. We have a short time. It's 17 minutes past the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Kobe, what are people saying?
All right, so I have a couple text messages about the historian. So Raymond Unso says, honestly, some of the journalists are partly to blame for allowing these so-called intellectuals to mislead the public. This happens because some journalists failed to interrogate them thoroughly on the issues being discussed. I don't think these so-called experts would dare make such claims on Good Evening Ghana. God bless you, Paul, and your team. Now from Sita Abdul Khalik, he says, Dear Paul, Dr. Anoche has silently and consistently and continuously created historical volcanoes in Ghana with his biased narration of history. He has in time said a lot of things about the history of the North and Ghana that is historically falsehood. He must be careful in his thoughts about historical events and facts. Now, Kwabna Inchibwesiako says, the document the historian is referring to is a conjecture article. The author used if, and a lot of assumptive prefixes. Now, again from Sita Abdul Khalik, Dr. Anoche must be careful. Honestly, he must reflect on some of his history discussions and come clean. History is a perfect narration of the narrator based on his or her biases. Now, Kofi James Fimafo says, I've had strong reservations about how he attributes issues to people as though he has a personal knowledge of most of the history he narrates, especially Asante laurels and decisions he confidently claims were the directive or ideas of a Confanoche. He should know that his broadcast audience may all not be the youthful population. Now, Yao Febri says, the intention of the NDC is to get the 2/3 of Parliament without the support of the independent MPs in order to take absolute control of Parliament. The executive and the judiciary, now the Chief Justice, is facing removal process in order to do whatever they want to do with the Constitution. It is the ultimate reason why they have fought for a rerun since the destruction of the collation process until now. The EC is running 19 instead of the original position of EC, remaining 3 polling stations. The enormous number of the MPs in Parliament by the NDC are already struggling to reach their authority to get the needed development assistance and they expect a committed NPP constituency, like Ablekuma North constituency, to implement their clandestine agenda for the constitution. Now back to you, Paul.
Carlos Ahinkra is a former minister for trade. He sends me a text and says that tomorrow Ghanaians will show their disapproval of NDC's machoism and destructive behavior. Ghanaians, he says, always wants peace, and the burning and destruction of electoral material after the election would be judged tomorrow. That's Carlos Ahinkra, who is writing to me. Okay, my Uncle George in Koliklote says that you really deserve a place in Ghana's history. Thank you, Uncle George. This Anochi man created a smoke for himself. Good job. Okay, thank you. I like these kind of text messages. They make my head very big. All right. Good evening to you, Carlos from Brazil. Thank you very much for watching. And good evening to my friends watching in New York. Thank you very much for watching as well. Hassan Ayariga is also watching. Okay. Now, let's get to the LGBT conversation. So, run up to the election 2024, one of the big issues that was laid against the NPP was a conversation about lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus rights. A bill was formulated in Parliament by members of Parliament, thanks to Professor Michael Quay, who introduced the Private Members Bill. And I'm very proud of that because I was part of the working team of Michael Quay to put this together, the Private Members Bill. We always thought that Ghana's Parliament must have a Private Members Bill so that free expression is given a bigger platform in Ghana's democracy. Congratulations to Professor Michael Quay as Speaker of Parliament. He championed this agenda and made it happen with great support from President Akufo-Addo himself. So as a result of that occurring, Private Members Bill was, next time we'll take time to explain what Private Members Bill is, but Private Members Bill was now allowed by the Parliament. Sam George, Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, Intim Fojo, Member of Parliament for Aston Central, Sam George NDC, Intim Fojo MPP, put together other MPs, including, I believe, Arnaud Dompre also, and came together to formulate this Private Members Bill, which came through as a greater human and sexual rights, blah, 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 blah. On Good Evening Ghana, we spent quite a lot of time with lawyer Moses Fuamoni, one of the proponents, the proponents of the bill, one of the sponsors of the bill. He came here and we talked a bit. He also appeared before Parliament's committee, etc. And Sam George was one of those who led the agenda against Akufo-Addo and against NPP and suggested that